Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cinema Color Podcast. Rob, I have a question.
Yes, buddy.
There seems to be an object of some sort in your front trousers storage area. Could you tell me about it?
That is, in fact, a Trek in my pocket.
Is that a Trek in your pocket? It is. It's Trek in your pocket number 2. That's right. It's Rob and Butch and Rob's literary journey part 2 or volume 2. Episode 2, that's right. We finished our journey to Bantam a few months ago, and now we are on to our treks, our literary treks, our pocket universes. In this case, is that a trek in your pocket is what we call these. So here we are to talk about our second book. We're so excited. We're doing these by rolling the dice and randomly choosing them, and our second random choice was Star Trek Pocket Books number 15. My Corona. So here to talk to me about this is, as always, my co-host, Lord Rob McCullough.
Thanks, buddy. I was happy to see. So you probably remember this. I used to write whenever I would get a new Star Trek book. I would write my whatever novel. The one I had said, "This is my 13th Star Trek novel."
Wow.
Corona from 1984, aka Children of the Corona, also known as The Bad Space Seed. Do you like those two alternate titles, Butch?
There are some Children of the Corona in this. I'm glad you didn't go the obvious route, which is COVID-19. So good for us for not going that route. I will say it just to get it off the plate so we don't have to talk about it anymore. But there it is. Very apropos. Yeah, this is a novel. It's much shorter than the last one, 192 pages. So that was a brief read. It was almost 100 pages less than the last one.
Yeah.
Much breezier, shorter chapters. Shorter chapters always helps, right? I think the longest chapter in this is like 12 pages and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was great. I read it on the July 23rd and 24th, so that I believe is last weekend. So yeah, I like those. That's a breezy 2-day read. That's good stuff, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's published April 1984 by Greg Bear, who is a name that's so familiar to me. I just assumed he must have done a bunch of these novels. Diane Duane last week, she's done 5 of the ones that are on our list, I think, 4 of them at least for sure. Greg Bear, this is his only Trek novel. He also did one Star Wars novel in 2000 called Rogue Planet. And he's famous for his Forge of God series, but here's the reason why he's a person of some note. He was one of 5 individuals who collectively created San Diego Comic-Con. That's kind of like an iconic event in the nerd world, the sci-fi world. Probably the biggest event every year in what is known as, sci-fi, fantasy, superheroes, all that, steampunk, all that stuff. So that's a big deal. He gets credit for that, for sure. But yeah, this is only Trek novel, so I was surprised to see that, because I was like, I'm sure he had written some other ones, but I guess not.
Yeah. Isn't it weird that Star Wars novels never took off the way that Star Trek novels did?
Well, I think you just don't know Star Wars novels fans. There's a horde of them out there. Usually they are the toxic Star Wars fans, because at some point when Disney bought Star Wars, they said all the novels aren't canon anymore. And people lost their goddamn minds. It's like, but I don't get how it works. It's like, so if we made all of these Star Trek novels canon for Star Trek, they all conflict with each other.
Like the Bible.
Yeah, it's like, let's just take, Spock must die. The Klingons are in orbit around Organia for 1,000 years. Why would I have the Klingons kick around anymore, thanks to Bonehead, who killed them off in the first Star Trek novel ever made? That was brilliant. So, yeah, I think that taking it as non-canonical and kind of like just, a little inspired by Star Trek, using Star Trek's characters, but not thinking about how they all fit into the same puzzle works for me.
Well, I don't even think the animated series, the original one, is canon, is it?
Oh, it depends on who you ask. I mean, so the fact that it was it had the original voice cast in it. Some of the episodes were written by original series writers. DC Fontana wrote an episode. What's his face who wrote Trouble with Tribbles, and the Galactic Whirlpool. David Gerald, he wrote an episode of that. So yeah, I think sometimes people do think of it as that. We get to meet Spock's 6 foot tall teddy bear in an episode of that. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, if you, I would say it's kind of like right on the borderline, but I'm not sure. If you were to ignore the canon from that, you'd probably be okay because almost nobody's seen it. So
yeah, I personally also, just for myself, don't count anything since the turn of the century. Canon. I like what they did in Strange New Worlds, but I'm not considering it as canon. I'm sure it is canon, but
yeah, well, it's at least trying to play with the idea of how to fit inside of canon. So for whatever that's worth. So, in this case, this novel Corona by Greg Bear, he's like I said, a sci-fi author of note, and I think that the best part about this book is it's the sci-fi concept at the heart of it. So that's good. We in the original series saw a lot of super advanced aliens, non-corporeal aliens. What did we have? We had the Metrons. We had the Melkotians, I guess, although they were not quite as powerful or whatever.
I mean,
yeah, the Thasians and all those guys. And so we had those. But in this novel, the kind of the villain of this novel, if you could call him that, I suppose you should call him that, is a group of sentient protostars, quasars. I'm not sure if the quasars that they mentioned were them or not, but they call themselves Corona, which again we should know. Corona was going to rampage into So it's really interesting. They're it's a big pile of gas and stuff like that is so vast and powerful it like becomes sentient, and you're like, okay, I can see that, I guess. So
and it's from literally the moment of the Big Bang is when creatures of this type.
Yeah.
And it's like the last surviving whatever it is from that time.
Right. So the fact that this black box nebula, I think Coalsack Nebula, but the black box nebula that they're in is like a stellar nursery, right? Something like we've been seeing in the pictures from the James Webb Telescope and stuff like that. So these things, the creation of a star is something very localized, but similar to what the moments after the Big Bang were. And so this intelligence kind of pops up and remembers and stuff like that. And it's going to say, well, we should bring back the good old days when this is how the whole universe was and stuff like that.
Unfortunately, that would mean the end of the current universe.
Yeah, it does have a tendency to like, it's like our Etch-a-Sketch is almost full, and they're like, no, just shake it and start over. No, we're on that Etch-a-Sketch, man. I've been working all day on that Etch-a-Sketch, damn it. What do you mean you kicked it across the room? Yeah.
So the stakes are high.
No,
I mean,
they for sure
are. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I will say this, by the way. So we get some guest stars in this. The two primary ones. I will start with the primary one, Rowena Mason, who is a member of the. I was almost going to yell Starfleet News Service, but it's Federation News Service. Did they not get the memo that I wrote in 2020? Did they not get that memo in 1984, 26 years before I 36 years before I wrote?
Which, I believe it would be Federation News Service. I think you just you're like, working for the Army or whatever as a news.
We're a propaganda outlet, and these guys are like kind of an investigative news journalism, and that's very much what we described her as. I was surprised that Kirk has a very anti-media attitude in this. He kind of is like, man, there's people are just here. Him and McCoy trade stories about how, they got this one guy in trouble like last year for like, doing some bad stuff or whatever. It's like yellow journalism or whatever. And I was just imagining it's like, mainstream media, can't trust them.
But even, has there ever been a time when you're like, oh, good, the press is here to talk to me?
It all depends on, in this case, these guys are, it pretty much puts Kirk in a bit of a spiral where he's like, I'm going to have somebody second guessing me and writing, what happens if something goes wrong on this mission? Because there's another aspect to this. So in addition to Rowena Mason there, we also have this guy named, Veblen, Mr. Veblen. I didn't get a first name for Mr. Veblen. Did you get a first name for Mr. Veblen?
Yes, I did. It was. It
Doesn't matter. Yes,
but-
thank you. I knew that's what it had to have been because I didn't get one. So he's in like their new chief computer officer that they brought on board because they have installed what I can only assume is the M6 Multitronic unit, I guess.
Yeah, there was a guy in Breaking Bad, which I know you haven't watched, who was like Walter White's kind of like nerdy understudy. And that's who I was picturing for this guy. I don't know. Who'd you have for Rowena Mason in your head?
I don't know. Probably somebody like, somebody kind of a little bit mousy or whatever. But it has to be young. So that's the whole thing. I was thinking like a Helena Bonham Carter, but I was thinking like a Helena Bonham Carter from like 25 years ago or something like that because she's supposed to be young. By the way, should we make some assumptions about what she looks like? Considering A, she complains about how beautiful all the Starfleet women are, and B, Kirk does not hit on her. Those are red flags, man.
Well,
so maybe she's Susan Boyle. Maybe Susan Boyle was the person who played her. I'm not sure. So.
Well, no. Well, think 1984. So I'm thinking Molly Ringwald.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, kind of like the person who's self-conscious, pretty but self-conscious about herself, kind of a thing.
Well, Bueller's sister. What was her name? Jennifer or something.
Jennifer Grey. Yeah, exactly. I'm very scared. I'm very cute. Send somebody over here to save me. Yes, exactly. Okay, those are both good choices. So, Mr. Veblen, then I'm going to say who he should be played by is the Somebody Stole My Stapler guy from the movie from Office Space. Yeah, it has to be like. Sorry, Captain Kirk. Somebody stole my stapler. So I'm assuming that's that guy.
That's pretty spot on, but
yeah, but he's brought on board because he's got to be the guy who's installing these monitors, and the monitors are a kind of a computer program that's going to like continually analyze what's going on, and if necessary, override Captain Kirk and take control. Does this not sound like it's like.
Why? It's a group of 5 captains from the past who we brought them on board to make sure that men can succeed. And
yeah, I'm having like a Captain Dunsel flashback.
Yes.
Yeah, we already know this isn't going to go well, Starfleet. What are you doing?
It's like
engrams. Yes, I impose my own engrams on there.
Yeah, it's fun because we get to talk to 40% of the dead captains that make up the kind of like brain trust in this, which is fun. Please do not talk to the captains individually, so they do it twice, which is great. Always wanted to meet my hero, or at least an iPod version of my hero. It's like if I had an iPod access to a Kirk on an iPod, I would be talking to him all damn day. Yeah, it's me again.
You're really alive in this thing, right? Yeah. So, who do you like in the 5th race? Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd be Leonard Nimoying it all day, every day.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hey, listen, there's another computer thing that they brought on board. In addition to these monitors, which are going to play a role somehow, they're also brought on something called TEREC, T-E-R-E-C. It's like a transporter emergency recovery device or whatever. So if somebody gets in trouble, you can just beam them there and like store their patterns and their memory engrams and then recreate them.
Yeah, you get to proceed from your last save point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So somebody who invented like the game Doom or whatever is definitely paying attention. By the way, is this not just kind of what a transporter always could do? Right? It's like, well, just say I just saved this, so I just saved this at my last save point, and so he's down there dead, but we'll just beam up his body, and it'll be him again alive, starting where he was six hours ago. I'm sure they could have done this. So this is an interesting idea. By the way, he does not really ever go anywhere with this idea in this book. It's used briefly, but it's fine. I mean, because again, it would kind of break the thing if it actually works. So break the.
I also like that he tried to bear-splain it a little about the codes only last like 15 minutes, and
Yeah, I can only have 2 at a time and stuff.
Yeah.
We do get another villain in this. I should mention the other villain. First of all, we get to meet the Kshatriyans. Why we meet the Kshatriyans? So this mission is going to require them to go through Romulan space and also Kshatriyan space.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for not giving us any Romulans.
yeah, but if in deference to that, the Kshatriyans are essentially another offshoot of Romulans and Vulcans, and we get to meet one guy from among them, and it's Dar Zoltz-Chan, the Unforgettable. His words, I'm gonna say, yeah, I did not find him particularly unforgettable. He's like one and done, and you're like, well, I'll never think about the Kshatriyans again. Thanks for not writing another novel, Greg Bear.
Yeah, I like how he threw Shat in there. At least Kirk didn't give over the entire known universe to this guy, like we had in was that the last book?
Yes, exactly. We're not gonna spend too much time with him. And it's just one encounter, and it's a little bit of a bluff scenario and stuff. But we'll get to that.
Let's get to the Federennials. That's where the meat of this story is.
Yeah, that's what it is. I guess they're not technically the villains, but they are henchmen, unwitting henchmen for the villains, which is a Vulcan research team led by one of Spock's cousins, T'Prila.
She's a precursor to what's his face in Star Trek V. She's almost a renegade Vulcan.
Yeah, for sure. So that'd be Valeris. By the way, this is the artwork for the book I'm holding up. If you're listening to this podcast, you're seeing it.
Who is Spock's brother? I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, it's a Cybok, of course.
Yeah, she's almost like Cybok. Not.
They do say she's a bit of a scientific renegade. She was kicked out of the Vulcan Science Academy. By the way, the artwork for this, I believe that's her on the cover. Either it's her or it's Spock's date to prom. I'm not sure.
She's cute.
Yeah, and again, because he's in the Spock prom pose right there. It's like, okay, put your hand on her shoulder and stand behind her. And she's looking bored because she wanted Kirk to ask her, but Kirk's not there. By the way, that cover art was painted by Boris Vallejo, who's a well-known artist of like Conan the Barbarian novels and stuff like that. I don't
think he nailed it, but I think the chick is cute.
Sure, absolutely, and so that's great. But yeah, the Vulcans, we have a married couple as T'Prila and Grake. That is an unfortunate name for Romulan. Their kids, Radek and Tarau.
Is he a Romulan?
Is he what?
You said that's an unfortunate name for Romulan.
Oh, no, it would be an unfortunate name for a Romulan. It's especially unfortunate for a Vulcan because, yeah, he's not Romulan. You're right. And then they have some assistants who may as well not exist, Anak and Takosa. Boy, those two, just there for window dressing, right? It's like the kids and the parents that are really involved and stuff. How do you feel about all the kind of Vulcan he's trying to do a little bit of Vulcan society building and stuff like that? Did any of that seem to fit with what we knew then or what we know now about Vulcan stuff or whatever?
I was okay with it. You do always get the impression that while Vulcans claim to be purely logical and stuff, they do have their cliques and they do sometimes frown on individuals that don't conform to the sort of like a larger scale what Spock put up with from Sarek about I didn't do what you thought I was going to do, so now we have a beef for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that part. I don't know, it was towing the line a little bit about saying inductive versus deductive logic and but I didn't. There wasn't anything glaring that jumped off the page at me. Did something hit you wrong?
No, I just think that it felt like he was trying to develop some stuff. He's like, well, in the next novel, I'll develop this more, and then he never wrote another Star Trek novel. So that's what it was. So yeah, so I guess there's that, and then so one of the other things I like to talk about a little bit is how they use some of our other cast members in the series and stuff like that. So McCoy gets a lot to do. He gets to talk about medical ethics a lot because they're going to break some medical ethics here.
Yeah, they are.
Uhura basically just plays a VIP escort and stuff, and a roommate for our guest star. Basically, she doesn't do a whole lot.
I felt like Greg Bear had just watched the Tholian Web and was kind of based.
Yeah.
With her, she's got all the stuff in her room and
exactly.
Flowing.
He just saw, and he's like, yeah, so I'm gonna set a couple scenes of this in her quarters after bedtime. That's exactly right. So that'll be cool. Chekhov is serving the Chekhov role as the guy who bad shit happens to. It's like, so there's that. Nurse Chapel is in there briefly. She gets to do go down to the station with Bones once and gets one kind of good scientific point made one time or whatever. But
we Token Hulu appearance.
Yeah, Token is right. He gets a nothing burger just about in this. He's there but not doing much, which is sad because he got to do some combat stuff in the last one. But there's combat in this, but he's not really doing anything because the ship's in charge. So
yeah, Scotty doesn't get much to do either, right? I mean, what he does is in character, I think, but there's not much there. If you're a big Scotty fan, you're left wanting.
Yeah, so it's really kind of, and then Spock basically he gets to kvetch about his Vulcan ties to Prilla here, and really we're kind of hearing him brag on his cousin is really what we're doing. So good for him, I guess.
He does. Spock does a lot of I've got a bad feeling about this. So that's fun.
Yeah. So overall, I'd say the weakness of this book for me is that it doesn't really try to use our regular cast members very much, right? So, but that's okay. I mean, the story's really good, so it's kind of a balance of you get a good story, but you don't really get great character building. And there are episodes of the original series that were like that, right? So,
yeah, I don't think he does any character building, but what he does do is not out of character. So.
That's correct. He doesn't screw anybody up, right? Scotty does not have red hair. I'm talking to you, person who wrote Spock Messiah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal.
That's brutal. All right, so what do you say, man? These are nice, pithy chapters. So we should be able to zip right through this book here, man. What do you want to do? You want to start off?
Yeah, I'll start off with a couple chapters. You just tell me when you want me to shut up.
We'll just bounce back and forth. We'll do it organically, by which I mean I'll just run over you halfway through your first sentence and take over.
Yeah. So thanks, Jay. It starts off with a kind of an ominous prologue about T'Prilla and Station. They're out at Station 1, T'Prilla and her husband and the gang, out by the Black Box Nebula. And they're studying some protostars, and there's a lot of radiation, and we get a little bit of a federennial setup. So it's like, something's going out there, and basically it's like, let's try amidst all this radiation to send out like a distress beacon, but it's going to take 10 years. Wah wah wah. So, 10 years later, we fast forward to the book. The meat of the book.
Yeah, real quick, let me talk about Station 1. It is, like I said, it's far enough away that subspace communications is 10 years away, but it's close enough that at maximum warp you can get there in less than 2 weeks, or less than 3 weeks, basically, right? So, So that's good. And by the way, the nice thing about Station 1, 75,000 watts of rock, baby. It's like, you gotta have them. You gotta have 75,000 watts of rock if you're gonna be that far out on the galaxy's edge. You gotta bring the thunder. So, all right, carry on.
But there definitely is, like in the prologue, a little bit of a, the bad seed or Children of the Corn type of thing. Like something's going on with the kids. The Vulcans have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and something is amiss, and something's not quite right. And let's get that distress signal off. So now we go to some backwards planet where Rowena Mason is. So she's
real quick. I'm only going to say the intro to this. I will intro you for this. Dateline Yalbo. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, and I like that. Yalbo does kind of paint a picture of like, okay, this is, what planet's Luke Skywalker from?
If you're looking for the bright center of the galaxy, this is a planet it's farthest from Tatooine, by the way.
Yeah. So pretty close. I was kind of getting Tatooine vibes.
Yes.
So she's one of basically the 2 reporters on the planet that are part of the Federation News Service, and she gets assigned to the Enterprise, and she's going to get to share Uhura's quarters. Welcome home, honey.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I think she actually says that at one. That's like
that's
the last three lines of this of this chapter. Yeah. So listen, we learned that she's from Yalbo. She's never left Yalbo, right? So it's interesting because she's getting her first deep space assignment as a reporter. And it reminds me of, I'm going to talk about my cousin Tracy here. My cousin Tracy, she's a year older than me, and she just the other day left a comment for me on Facebook about how, oh, do you still chew your soda? Which I did when I was 9 years old, I guess, apparently. And all the cousins in that house still talk about that. My cousin Tracy literally was afraid to leave the house until she was 17. She didn't spend the night away from her parents' house until she was like 16 or 17. And yet I'm the one getting grilled about, oh, do you still chew your soda? Ha, ha, ha. So, really? Okay, that's cool. But she's definitely that, right? I've never been away from home now, and now I'm getting on a starship, and I'm going to have my first big story. Yeah.
And we're going to find out, we don't find out quite yet, but she's got a little bit of Lieutenant Styles in her.
Yes.
Which is distrustful of aliens, particularly Vulcans and Andorians.
Yeah. Now, as a humanist, she would be okay with having a little Styles in her, if you know what I'm saying. She doesn't want to have anything to do with Spock or that Andorian guy who's like the navigator, but she would not mind a little Styles in her, as it were. But I'm gonna.
Yeah, once you go Spock, you listen to Cock Robin.
All right, keep going.
So anyway, then we see Kirk and Bones talking about how the ship's getting, as you mentioned, a Terek. That's Transporter Emergency Recovery Unit.
Yes.
And they talk about that a little bit. Mason gets invited to a dinner with the captain, Spock, Sulu, Scotty, Veblen, the parts you mentioned in Bones. She's uneasy around Spock. They point out that she thinks Kirk is 45. I was like, wait, what?
Well, I wrote that down. It's funny because she says looks like he's about 45. And it also looks like he's about 8 years younger. I was like, okay, how does he look 45 and also look 8 years younger than 45?
Yeah, so I feel like they were 10 years off.
Maybe if we give the benefit of the doubt here to the writer, we would say that he exudes the personality of somebody about 45, the commanding presence of a 45-year-old, but he looks like he's 36.
But maybe. I think, I went on one of those, I forget what the Star Trek sort of wiki.
Oh, it's Memory Alpha.
Memory Alpha, yeah. There was Memory Alpha and Memory Beta, and they had some stuff about this comment she made about him being placed at about 45, and they're like, well, that would make it this year, and it's really, we think it's this year. Yeah. So I think most people are just going to assume that Greg was a little off on that one.
And that's okay.
Put a bookmark in the guess on Kirk's age. We learn about that the Terek copies memory patterns or whatever, and that also they're going to have this the monitor with the 6-pass. I have 6-pass copies.
I think you're right. It's 6. I'm looking at my notes now, and I'm seeing 6. I was saying 5, but I just want to kick that asshole Franklin out. I don't,
That's right.
So Captain Franklin, you're out.
They're going to be monitoring the captain to make sure there's no ethical violation. The Terek. They're going to be making sure the Terek isn't being misused. Yeah. But also, sort of the captain's conduct in general. Well, so I get why Kirk is not happy about this.
I will say this about this, if I may go back to the last chapter just briefly, because if they were looking for harassment violations, at the end of chapter 1, or chapter 2 rather, Kirk and McCoy kind of construct their perfect nurse. It's like, well, she'd be about 5'10", and then I literally wrote this down: brainy and obedient. It's like, yeah, this is a little bit on point, by the way. So 5'10". So if you're 5'10", brainy and obedient, that could be like Elle McPherson. So I think that'd work. So
I thought they were gonna say athletic and sleazy and demure. So
it's very much all that. But I'm telling you what, if the monitors were listening when they were saying that, you have been fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality code, is what we would heard.
It was good stuff. But anyway, the this all brings us to Chapter 4, which is where we get what we want, which is that Starfleet has finally received this message after 10 plus years.
Yes.
And they're going to send the Enterprise on a rescue mission where they're going to cross the Romulan neutral zone and that other one at warp 11.
Kshatrians, yes. At
They're
warp
gonna haul
11,
us
that's
to warp 11.
technically a violation of all the laws of physics. Although back in TOS, they did 14.1 at some point. So
Yeah, they flew past it a couple times. And reluctantly, for everybody involved, Mason's going to be along for the ride. So why don't you... Oh, let me say one more thing here at the start of Chapter 5. I'll give you Chapter 5, but Spock is 79. I was like, ouch. I suppose that could be true if Kirk's 45, because I know, despite what J.J. Abrams thinks, which is that Kirk and Spock are maybe 6 months apart or one grade up, in Starfleet. We know that Spock served with Pike for 20 years or something.
Right.
I mean, a long time, right? He had a long career before Kirk showed up.
Yeah. That being said, man, he doesn't even get a command of a shuttle mission until Kirk has been captain for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they didn't think through the timeline really well on that, I will say.
I think Spock's, probably in his I don't know. What do you think? How old do you think Spock?
I always thought they put Spock at like 51 or something like that.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Kirk at 34 and Spock at 51 is what I thought it was.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about Kirk at 45 and Spock at 79. But anyway, go ahead, take over.
So something I noticed in Chapter 5 is they're talking, they're getting a message, or maybe they're listening to the message from Grake on Station 1, and Kirk talks about his translator implant. Did you hear that?
Yes.
And how it gives him headaches sometimes and stuff like that. The translator implant, I thought, was an interesting idea. How do you get around the fact we never see the universal translator? Because it's a brain implant. That's one way to do it.
They also did something fun with the, okay, we're going to give you the condensed version download to your brain. Enjoy your aspirin.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that, the condensed version, and I know Kung Fu. Yeah, so it's just great. I know how to do the backflip kick, the double chop, and the kick off the wall now. That's great. Come at me, Andorian. It's like, come get your pain, Andorian, Orion spy, whatever. I'm off track here. Okay, so then we learn about the thing that's in danger. So in addition to all the Vulcan Federennials that are running around that station, there's also 30 other scientists there that are asleep. Apparently they're waiting for something to get done so that before they wake up, and they are all presumed dead because of something called Abakra radiation.
And that's where you got your space bad seed reference, because they're all frozen.
That's right? Exactly. And rightfully so, the space seed reference, right? They're in presumably a higher tech version of the same thing. And presumably they don't have Khan's healing abilities from Star Trek Into Darkness 2013, but that's okay. So Scotty's worried about the engine. 17 days at maximum warp is a long time at warp 11, but they've got to get there quick because they're worried that they're going to lose this entire scientific team. That's the whole thing. They're going to something that they don't even really know what they're going into. They're primarily there to rescue these protostars. They figured they were going to watch them form, but they formed way faster than expected. So now this radiation is way faster than expected, and now they got to go rescue these guys. They don't even know if they'll be able to salvage them, right? They assume this radiation has like melted all the protective sheath around their nerves, right? So they're safe as long as they're not woken up. But as soon as you wake them up, they're going to die a horrible death. And if they never wake up, what's the point of them being alive, right? So. But they have this Tarek machine now, so they hope that they can fix it. But it'll be a slow process because of how long, it's like when you're running Windows 95 and you get like the brand new high graphics game, and you're like, I can play it, but it's like I get one frame every 3 seconds, basically, is what I get. So that's kind of what downloading these people's brains would be.
Okay.
But yeah, so the thing is that we learned that the Tarek can do this if it has to, and then Mason, the reporter's kind of like, yeah, but it sounds kind of hinky to me. She's let's just say she's a gumshoe that's on that case.
Yes.
So, yeah. So then we get Chapter 5 opens with Kirk stroking the buttons on his chair. It literally uses that word. Yep, and then we meet Lieutenant Yamasa, who sounds like he's Japanese, but he's actually Andorian. He's the navigator. I'm like, where the hell's Chekhov? Chekhov is around. He's just not at navigation now.
Break. I thought I did think Bear went a little heavy on the kind of sexualizing the Enterprise with.
Well, he went kind of like Conscience of the King heavy, right? It's like you're just with the ship all the time, and it's throbbing and pulsing, and yeah. So he went totally Conscience of the King is what he went. He must have watched that episode before he wrote this chapter, and that's fine. Yeah, because so they're getting ready for departure, and Bones is still worried about Mason, whether she's up to it. He suggests they leave her, and Kirk's like, well, I'm going to tell her she's welcome to come and leave it up to her. So it'll be up to her if she comes. It's a good thing she does, and it's probably a good thing. We're led to believe it's a good thing that she's coming on this mission.
I was a little surprised, Butch, that, I mean, not just that Kirk didn't hit on her, but nobody did. I mean, usually someone is enamored with any chick who comes on the Enterprise.
Yeah, somebody, they're going to play the music at some point with her, right? Exactly. Yeah. It's like
it's either Scotty with the catatonic chick with Memory Alpha or whatever, or it's Spock and the Spores chick, or somebody's always world is hollowing. Someone's always in love with someone.
And even if nobody's actually in love with them, they're always talking them up. So you might have like Is There in Truth No Beauty talking about Miranda Jones like she's the most beautiful woman in the galaxy, even though nobody's really hitting on her. They're still talking her up. Like, so just in case the viewer at home doesn't get that this girl is pretty, we're going to talk. By the way, you notice they never talked about how beautiful Andrea was, or how beautiful, all these, because some of the women, you don't need to talk it up, but some of the women guest stars are like, dude, it's like when you're in retail and you're like, dude, push the Cool Ranch Doritos. We got too many of those. Push them hard. Yeah. So nobody's pushing her hard enough is what we're saying. They're not selling her on us. That's why I'm thinking it's got to be somebody like, you're right, Molly Ringwald. The one that gets in the corner, forgotten in the corner, right?
Yeah, Andrea's in a case locked up. You have to go ask for someone to unlock it for you. She's top shelf.
She's in the shelf. She's in the case with the razor blades and the ivermectin at the pet store. Yes, exactly. I hear you. All right. So that's so we do get a little bit of that. Sulu and Yamasa are at the helm. They're preparing for departure. We get a little bit of hearing about Yalbo. It's like it was a mining place or whatever. They have a shipyard there. Which is where they were getting the monitors installed at and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's right. You can't just go out in the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it makes for lovely sunsets, and that's got to count for something. And then we also get a bit of a discussion about Kirk learning from Spock about T'Prilla. She's descended from philosophers. She is known for using her feminine intuition. So, which you've already said. So now we're moving on. And now we have Mason, the reporter, interviewing Kirk in Computer Central, no less, and she asks about all his decisions being questioned by the computers and stuff, and how is he cool with that. And then I wrote down it's the engrams of 4 captains. I just can't get it. 6. It's 6 of them. I've written 5 and I've written 4, but it's 6. So at some point there's. Yeah, I got 5 kids to feed. All right, it's fine. So yeah, and I really got the sense that Captain Dunsel is going to show up here at some point, right?
Absolutely.
And we get to talk a little bit with Veblen. Boy, is he a forgettable guy. Whenever we see him on screen, I'm like, yeah, he's just kind of there. And then we get to finally have a confrontation with the Kshatriyans. You've been waiting for it for years, I know. When are we going to get a confrontation with the Kshatriyans?
I thought it was kind of fun. It was a short, little unnecessary interruption, but it did break it up a little. Kirk handles it. The guy was a pompous ass. It was fun. It was kind of fun. I wish they would have. My beef with. The reason I never really watched Deep Space Nine or Voyager was I just couldn't handle not the Kardashians, just the ones that I can't handle, Butch.
Bajorans, the Ferengi,
the Ferengi. I just was like, ugh. Every time they came up, and these guys seem like that a little.
Yeah, again, we only get 3 or 4 pages with them, so. They're there and they're gone. That's about just a taste, and then we'll never see you people again. So enjoy your moment in the spotlight. But it's interesting because it's Kirk's a chance in this book to do a little bit of the bluff. It's like, we're going to keep going. And they rattle their sabers, the Kshatriyans do. Veblen's running his computer program to try and figure out what they're going to do. And it turns out after they get out of this, he's like, yeah, their empire's in no situation to fight. So it was just a bluff on their part, too. And you're like, I wonder how many different episodes could have just ended if we could have figured out, yeah, by the way, the Klingons didn't get a good breakfast, so they're not going to be shooting at us today. They forgot to eat their gok for breakfast this morning, so they'll be fine. It's cool. So that takes us out of Chapter 6 then. So you want to jump back in here?
Yeah. So Uhura, I think she's talking to Mason. She mentions that Klingons and Romulans and Vulcans are distantly related. I was like,
that's weird.
Klingons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Kshatriyans, but
yes.
They're an afterthought. They're the Iran Barkley of the Fab Four.
Yes, exactly right. Hey guys, me too. You're like, no, not you too. Okay.
Yeah. We kind of find out that Yalba was originally kind of a hippie planet.
Yes.
Now they're humanists, which means that they think, and I think we saw some of this in Picard. Maybe it was the alternate kind of reality Picard, but humans above everyone else in the galaxy, right? So the galaxy is humans, and humans are the top of the ladder. That was for Picard, right?
Yeah. Humanists. I always think of humanists. I think our friend Vince and I would think humanists means people that believe that humans are their own thing and not like created by God to like do God's will and be God's subjects, but to be humans and have their own agency. These guys are like, it feels more like they're describing human supremacists is what it feels a little bit like they're describing. And she says, look, I just have never really met anybody but humans, so that's why I have a propensity towards humans, and that's understandable, I suppose. I called that living in Wyoming from 3rd through 5th grade, so yeah.
What? So Spock, we get some foreshadowing because Spock tests the new system and isn't reassured.
Yeah.
Mason does some shit. 2 weeks pass. That's the main. And they arrive at the Black Box Nebula in Station 1. There's no signs of life, so let's send down a landing party.
Yes. I have to one thing that I wrote down in here, so that Mason at some point meets Chapel, and she describes in her own mind Chapel as spinsterish, which I think is a very good description of TOS Chapel. Of course, not the Strange New Worlds Chapel. She doesn't come across, but the TOS Chapel definitely came across as spinsterish. But it's also like, so she's like, well, at least I'm prettier than that one. It's what Mason's saying. So, all right. So now we've arrived. I also note that at the end of that chapter, when they arrive, they said that the kind of protostars are beckoning to them almost like talons, which I thought was interesting. It's very ominous, right? Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah. So,
all right. So now we're at Station 1. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So they beam down at Station 1. They're going to beam down for 2 minutes. I was like, man, that's not much time to do anything. So they beam down, and one of them sees the little Vulcan boy, Radak.
Yes.
Radak is beamed back. However, the problem with that is the tricorder does not show that happened, and the ship's sensors don't show that happened. So we have a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
And Radak, unbeknownst to our crew, calls mom and dad out of a 10-year adaptation kind of.
It's a kind of a tantric situation, I'm led to believe, but it's fine.
Yeah, and they've apparently been under some control from this Corona business.
It's called a lockdown, but sure, yeah.
Oh, the hangover. But the parents won't cooperate, so it's back to oblivion with the both of yous. Kirk gets a call from Grake, in quotes, that's controlled Grake.
Yes.
And says, and tell me if this sounds familiar, Captain, I'd like to just have you, Spock, and McCoy beam down. I couldn't do...
Are you trying to do? Are you trying to do? What's his face from Tantalus Colony? Yeah,
I can.
yeah. Now, Captain, if you'd like to beam down, you and your first officer and a lovely girl in one of those blue outfits. You know the blue outfits I'm talking about. We could go down and we'll have a toast, and I'll introduce you to all my dead-eyed assistants down here.
May space never be so vast.
Who says you can't do it? That was right on point right there. Tristan Adams, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Anyway, yeah. So I lost my place. Yeah. So they're going to beam down. The big three are going to beam down. Spock has misgivings, in case you didn't pick up on that in the previous chapters. Yeah. They're going to drag along Chapel and Chekhov Jigga as well.
Yes, exactly.
However, when they beam down, Butch, there's a problem, because Spock kind of he materializes off balance or a foot off the ground or something, where he kind of falls when he beams down to the station. That's unusual.
I believe it's called he had the vapors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fainting couch stat.
What's not unusual is that no one at the station wants to have a medical exam.
Red flag. Yes.
So why don't you take over chapter 12, Butch?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I will say one thing. McCoy complains that he's like, well, either the sleepers are dead or something along the lines of, or I'm back on the farm playing OBGYN to the chickens. I don't know what that means, but this couple chapters, we're going to get some interesting lines from McCoy real quick. So in chapter 12, they're talking about this miracle that Tarek is, and it's also slow as molasses. It's going to take them forever, basically, to fix these people. They can do like 2 a week, basically. And there's
the 3D printer.
Yeah,
we talked about.
Yeah, so it's going to take a while. And the other thing is you can't beam them over, because the beaming process, when they rematerialize, they'll be dead, right? So
the other big issue, Butch, is that they're legally dead.
Yes.
That's a problem. Because of the monitors, they're probably going to read it as an ethical violation if you try to revive dead people with the transporter.
That's right. Yeah. Probably because that would be an ethical violation. It's like, yeah, that's how you end up with multiple Will Rikers running around, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, so Spock confirms that the monitors won't let them do it. And he also confirms that the Vulcans are not acting like they should. Greg would not be like this and stuff like that. So they're not conforming to the social mores of Vulcans.
Right. What was the episode where, like, we saw some episodes where kids are kind of speaking for the adults in the original series, you know? I can't. I'm picturing one in my head, but I can't think of which one it is. But, you know, it's like mom and dad are there, but really the one running the conversation is Radak, and he's 10.
Yeah.
And Spock, that's not how that goes.
He's got those purple eyes you could fall into for days, but yeah, he's still too young. And so that leads McCoy to say his second great line, which is, "There's trouble in River City." Do you get that reference? That is from The Music Man. The stage play The Music Man. Trouble right here in River City, with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, which stands for pool, because they're playing billiards is what. All right, so it's fine. But he just says there's trouble in River City, which is just a very McCoy's really hitting a southern drawl kind of point of this book, is what I'm saying. The OBGYN and the chickens and
latest deep cuts list with all the literary references that gem of a list had. So I just assumed you were.
Oh, we're putting trouble on the deep cuts list now, baby. You've done it now. That's a whole song. So anyway, yeah. So McCoy wants to futz around with the monitors, and they could figure out that they could probably still do it as long as they bypass the monitors a little bit, but it'd be risking all their careers if they do it, right? So that's the question. One more thing that these monitors suddenly, if we had just waited one more mission to do the monitors, it would have been great. But now there's just like, Big Brother's watching at all times, what it is. So now finally, you've been waiting for it, and now you're going to get it. Finally, we get the big Rowena Mason and Mr. Veblen scene Here we go. Hold on to your britches, everybody. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Boring as hell. I'm sorry. Boring as hell ride. The conversation between these two. She's wanting to something about making sure they don't do anything untoward with the sleepers. Then Spock shows up and interrupts. Veblen says he doesn't want to be the source for her expose or whatever. He says you're trying to use me to divide and conquer, blah blah blah. So basically, it's her effort to do her reporting thing and find a secret inside source or whatever.
Yeah.
And then something goes wrong when they beam some people back over. Chekhov being one of the people that beams back over, and there's like a 45-second delay before they materialize. And when they do materialize, Chekhov seems to be in the same boat as some of the people we've seen before. He's not himself. Or rather, he is, but he's not in control of himself. So,
right.
And I thought they did pretty interesting stuff with him in this, where they describe it. But if you're not paying attention, if you're just kind of lottie-dying, you wouldn't necessarily get the gist of what's going on with Chekhov right now.
Would have liked it if he was a little more subtle about it. Like in an episode, you would have just kind of seen that he was acting a little different, but they would here. It's like we're inside his head.
Yeah, Chekhov would be like wiping his hands on his tunic or something like that. Oh, I'm all sweaty. It's like, yeah, that's what he would be subtly doing stuff like that, right? So,
yeah. So I don't know how he could have done different, but I wish it was a little more subtle instead of us knowing exactly what's going on from the get-go.
Yeah, so I'll do a little bit more then. So we get to that point. So now Chekhov's a thrall again. I don't know if he's going to how many quatlus they had to pay for him. Whoever has control of him, but we don't know that yet. So then we get a chapter 14 where it's Bones the Romantic is kind of. We're in his head thinking about the dilemma that they're up against. How are they going to get around the monitors? And then I swear to God, in what is, I assume, the year 2261 or something like that, he takes out a fountain pen. It says he uses a fountain pen. I don't even use a fountain pen. We don't even use fountain. I stopped using fountain pens in the 70s. It's like he was behind the times for 84, for crying out loud.
Use them. It's kind of an affect. I mean, it's something you can do.
Okay.
Just to, I guess. I mean,
yeah, that's the reason why Kirk thinks you can dip girls' pigtails in inkwells or some bullshit, because they think there's still fountain pens around. No, I'm sorry. You have to do this with a fountain pen. You go like this, and it sucks the ink. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They do need the fountain pens for the fuel consumption report, so we're clear on that. Which leads to the fountain pen inkwell consumption report that Kirk has to sign. It just is less often. So, all right. I'm sorry. I did go off on a bit of a tangent there.
Wait all day for that.
I have, yeah, for sure. So now Chekhov is being used as a conduit for the whatever is in charge, despite his best efforts to resist. He's like trying to misspell things and it's not working. He's trying to resist, he just can't or whatever. He can't tell anybody about it. It's not like those guys on the planet where they're like, "Hey, get out of here! We don't want to hurt you. Just run away." Yeah.
He's the captain. He's what's his face from Star Trek 2, right?
Oh yeah, Paul Winfield's character. That's right. Terrell, Captain Terrell. Not to be confused with Tarek or Tyrell Corporation, as it were.
Remember Star Trek characters? What the hell is going on? I'm going to be forgetting cult songs next.
Yeah, that's when you know it's too late for you. So then to Prilla and to Rao, her daughter, they travel, I guess they teleport or use whatever transportation, this intelligence that is controlling them, to a place that they call the Eye to Stars. And we get a brief thing there. I'm not sure. Nothing really comes of it. That's wherever the entity that's the nefarious entity, that's where it's at, is the Eye to Stars.
That it? If he used that phrase several times. I never really got it.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm assuming that the Eye to Stars is the place where the Talon-looking 3 protostars things is. I don't know. I mean, they're not really clear as to what's going on. So,
that Eye of Corona.
Yes, that's the Eye of Corona. Well done. That's exactly right. So, why don't you want to jump back in with chapter 15?
Yeah. So, because of the shenanigans with the transporter, which I think we'll all agree. especially having seen the upgraded Star Trek the Motion Picture earlier this year, we all agree that you don't. If the transporter's acting wonky, you stop using it.
Yep, darn right. Even if it means you have to, send down a pot of sake to the planet with a rope or something like that, you stop using it.
It doesn't matter if as soon as one dog comes back acting screwy, you bag it.
That's right.
Give me the brandy.
Oh,
so
man.
they're going to be taking the shuttle for the foreseeable future here. So the shuttle goes down and arrives at Station 1. And this gives Jigov a chance to hand the Enterprise blueprints to the daughter, to Rouse or whatever her name is.
Yes.
So that's Chekhov definitely acting out of character. He doesn't typically hand over top secret documents to fifth graders.
Yeah, that's something a Cossack would do. That's for sure. You're right.
That's not good. And Spock thinks that the sleepers, that's what I'm calling the frozen people, maybe he called them that, I don't know, are being used for an interesting purpose, and that is to store information in their brains.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So they're basically, extra memory cards lying around for you folks with a PlayStation, the old one.
Got to remember which one Super Pac-Man World 3 is saved on, damn it. That's all.
Yeah, that's right. And then we're going to that gives us time to get a tour from the Vulcans. And we learn that that there's intent to, or they talk about creating a new universe.
Yeah.
Somehow. So that doesn't sound good. That sounds like, are we sure that's a great idea? But that's sort of their plan. They give this crazy demonstration. Jigov sabotages the shuttle. I'm trying to read my notes. So they're gonna have to, right? I guess they're gonna have to transport. Is that what I wrote? I don't know.
Yeah, at some point, they figure they're gonna have to transport over. Yes.
And as I said earlier, Spock suspects some Vulcan Federal action here with the kids. So he asks for some stuff. If we were to play it by the book, Butch, Spock would like some stuff beamed down.
Yes, exactly.
Unfortunately, unlike, I don't know what was going on with Khan. He couldn't pick up that code.
Yeah.
But Corona's onto him. So Corona will be messing with the transporters. Anyway, with these weird materials, these suspect materials, Kirk and Spock could construct how'd you pronounce that? Radiation?
Ebacra, yes. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, they construct an Ebacra cage and say, hey there, Jigov, why don't you get in there and test it? Chekhov reluctantly gets in there, and as Spock had guessed, Chekhov collapses because he was being controlled. So now they're going to try to get T'Prila in it next, but now Corona's really onto them. So they somehow still nab T'Prila. Scotty tries to nab Radak, who is now randomly floating around the Enterprise.
In the 0G area of the Enterprise, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right, so a bunch of stuff has happened in quick succession here. They kind of temporarily cured Jigov. They've nabbed T'Prila. Scotty has suddenly nabbed this kid that's on the Enterprise. So I didn't say war was declared in Chapter 17, but it's heating up.
It's definitely heating up. So they managed to capture Radak and put him in the brig, which has this. So the idea is, I think at this point is when they figure out, or Spock had figured out before, but now they've pulled the trigger on it, that this Ibakra radiation is what's the conduit for the control of everybody, right?
Yeah.
So they have this cage they bring one down to the planet. They have one on the ship in the brig that can like cut off that radiation, and as a result of that, then Radak is out of communication with Corona. Chekhov is out of communication with Corona, and they just figure they have to do that with all of the Vulcans, basically. So, yeah, and we learned that T'Prilla has been trying to resist for a long time. She's not a willing accomplice here. She's known about the control, but can't do anything because it took Radak, and through Radak, it's more powerful than any of the Vulcans can handle. The pure Vulcans are especially susceptible to this. The younger, the better. And so Radak was the one who they've all kind of been controlled through. But now she's free of it, and eventually they do a little kung fu to free her of it. And so they figure they got to take care of Radak and Taurus. They've already taken care of Radak, so it's got to figure out how to take out your Taurus so that they will be free of this. And it's taken Chekhov and all of them and Spock when he had a little bit of trouble with the transport. It's because that's when it tries to take your brain over, right? So
yeah,
and so they're like, well, as long as we don't use the transporter, we'll be fine. Put a bookmark in that. So and then because they're going to have to take the transporter because the shuttle has been he fixed Chekhov's sabotage, but now it's going to be destroyed again. Because it's controlling the energy, so it's not able to take off, so it's going to crash, so they have to beam them out. So they beam a bunch of them out, but 2 of them don't make it, I think because of the interference, and the 2 that don't make it are Spock and Rowena Mason. Okay, she's going to get her moment in the sun. This is like, da-da-da-da-da-da. This is why you cast the big-name actresses to play them right here, is because of these scenes coming up, right? So Spock has to figure out a way to put some of his brain or some of himself into Rowena Mason, who's reluctant, by the way, because again, she's a human firster, right? So she's got all this story.
Any chance, Butch, you think Greg Bear swung by the theater on a rare off day to watch Star Trek III: The Search for Spock?
Yes. Remember. Okay, yeah. So I think that's how it goes. You're right. And so now he successfully does that, and then in chapter 19 we learn that T'Prilla says that Corona's plan is to recreate the universe just like it was 15 billion years ago. Mason, with Spock in her head, is dealing with the Vulcans. What they're trying to accomplish is some Vulcan ritual called Ka-Ni-Fur. Not Kali-Fi, not Kali-Fe, not Faltorpan, but Ka-Ni-Fur or whatever. And if they do that, they'll disconnect the kids from Corona's control, basically.
But
permanently.
I believe you're mispronouncing this Vulcan ritual.
Okay.
I believe it's pronounced Sorjatarung. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Did I get that right, Butch?
Exactly right. It's if you end up with like half your face falling off after the ritual, then you know it's a Sorjatarung one. Yes, exactly. So you've been Sorjatarung to have your face has fallen off. That's right. So
Sorjatarungs don't make a right, though, Butch. I want you to tell that to the kids. Don't.
That's right. So I wrote down Corona is a threesome of quasars. If you want to talk about lit as fuck, what's more lit as fuck than a quasar threesome? It doesn't get it literally in the history of the universe does not get hotter than a threesome of quasars, dude. Seriously, we saw one in the Galileo 7. We saw one quasar, and it was that big ass green thing that was an entire sector wide. There's 3 of them, man. That's lit. I'm telling you.
Butch, maybe you can answer this for me. So they talk about how I did think it was interesting how they talked about how whatever Corona is, it's its universe that it knew was the first 3 minutes of our universe. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
What I didn't understand was they mentioned that he, they, I believe its pronouns are he, they, was a fugitive Fugitive from what?
I didn't
He's
get into
the
that
last
stuff.
one. I didn't understand that.
Maybe it's a fugitive from the entropy heat death of the universe, right? So you're barely hanging on or whatever. You're finding like little pockets of subspace to survive in. It's the walls are they're closing in on me. It's like I got one more shot to play, and my shot is to recreate my old universe. And as somebody once said, I'm not throwing away my shot.
So is it? So he's like Lazarus.
I don't know. Yeah, what of Lazarus, Rob? What of Lazarus? All right. So yeah. So this is when things get crazy. So things are gonna happen in a hurry. The Kirk is figuring out a way to try and give Spock time or whatever to shut off the kids, but unfortunately, the ship has decided that it needs to take action now. I think this is when this is happening.
And also, Butch, I think I sidetracked you there. This Kamchatka or whatever the ritual is, it's like a Vulcan bar mitzvah or something.
Yeah.
Where you stop being a little bratty Federanian and you're a grown up now. So Mason via Spock is gonna, or I guess it'd be Spock via Mason, is gonna do that ritual for the girl.
You say the words and you step on a glass, and then you lift them in a chair.
Prilla, who has been temporarily cured, is going to do the same thing to Radak.
Yes.
And then that's going to instantly make them. It's like a vaccine. It's going to make them instantly resistant to corona.
Yeah, it's like getting mad when you have the spores in you, right? So.
Yeah.
Yep,
exactly.
And Vulcans have a generally better self-control than humans do, so they're especially susceptible for this. But when they come out of it fast. So,
Kirk decides he might have to destroy the planetoid, which is a problem because Spock's on it.
That's right. Mason's on it, not a problem. Spock's on it, problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like you said, the monitors are kicking in. So Kirk, this is a bad time for Kirk to have to be fighting for control of his own ship. We knew this was going to happen, Butch.
Yep, it was. It's Chekhov's monitor. If you show it in the first scene, you're going to have to use it by the last scene. So, yep.
Anyway, continue there.
Yeah. So now phasers, photon torpedoes have been fired, and it turns out when you're firing energy weapons at something that has supreme control over energy, it doesn't do shit. They are completely useless. They send the empty tubes back, the energy having dissipated and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. It's like it's like when somebody picks up the straw and then blows the little paper on the straw and bounces it off your forehead. That's kind of what is happening to the Enterprise. They shot these photon torpedoes and they're getting the paper tube for the straw bounced off their forehead.
Yeah, I was very happy that Greg Bear did not go all Trek to Mad World and make him turn it into, crazy fireworks.
Yes,
or.
Thank you.
Yes.
We are very glad, Greg Barrett, that you did not fall down the Trek to Mad World rabbit hole. So now we have Mason and Spock, and Mason Spock is forced to talk Corona out of this, right? So through Tarao, by the way. So Tarao is there talking for Corona, and Mason talking for Spock and herself makes a plea, something about blah, 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 y'all both sunset are the bests, etc., etc. And then she thinks she failed, but Corona heard the message, and it has a chance, but it doesn't take it. So
I have a rare recording of that conversation, Butch.
Really? Let's hear it.
I was able to procure this. This cost me several Ethereum tokens on the dark web, but I was able to find actual audio of this conversation between Mason, this plea between Mason and Corona. It was
oh, is this you trying to do the Lights of Zetar thing again?
Yes, it was. Okay. That was me. Have we done any Lights of Zetar impressions? I don't know.
Not on this episode. And we did Lights of Zetar so long ago. I can't remember. I just figured it sounds like Sherry Lewis doing Lamb Chop is what it sounds like. Yeah,
yeah, probably.
Yeah, when they open their mouth, it's like, this is a song that doesn't end. Whatever. But I'm sorry. That's the deep cut for those of you who didn't watch PBS when your kids are 5 years old. Like
geez,
I
you drop NPR on my wife before the podcast, and you say PBS. What is
exactly
going
right.
on?
Well, that's exactly. I was wondering why I suddenly brought it back is because I saw Darlene on the screen again. So I'm bringing up more public television references. So Kirk is giddy. Veblen's diagnosing. McCoy's terrified. Spock makes his final peace with the universe. They all think it's going to end right here because the machinery is already in motion. They've stopped all the Vulcans, but the machinery is already in motion. The only thing that can stop it now is Corona. Well, guess what? I wrote down for chapter 22 that the planetoid is swathed in a quote, and I'm quoting now, dusty, gassy purple yolk. Ew. Corona talks directly to Mason. I know now why you cry, she says to Mason, which is great.
If I may interrupt you, if you get a protostar threesome, you're gonna get a goopy gray purple yolk.
That's right. Try washing those sheets after that shit's over. You do not want to be in the room when that happens. So yeah, so I wrote down the Corona's last words to Mason. I know now why you cry. Yes. Corona considers alternatives. They can see, and it stops the machine. Basically, it figures, well, maybe in the future your goals and our goals will coincide, and so we'll just postpone it till later. We'll come back to this at some other time. So that's the end of chapter 22. So why don't you take us home, baby?
Yeah, Corona was like, I can wait, and Corona agrees to spare the universe in exchange for a little bit of memory swap with Mason. Okay.
Memory swap.
A tiny sun replaces the planetoid. Sure. The monitors, for some reason, give the go-ahead. Thanks, Corona. Wink, because it gave a little signature. All ends well, the end. So, overall, I enjoyed this book. I liked the Renegade Vulcans. I thought they were interesting. I thought the premise was interesting. I thought the crew, as I said, was in character. I give it 8 out of 10. I thought it was a breezy. It felt like an episode. The stakes were very high, probably too high, but I did like it. It was quite a bit better, I thought, than Doctor's Orders. What'd you think?
I agree. Here's the thing. Let's talk about this. Do you remember this book? Did you remember anything about how this book went?
No.
I didn't either. My recollection was that I didn't remember liking it, but I did like this. I'm inclined to think that there's going to be a lot of books that I like that I don't like anymore, and a lot of books that I didn't like that I do now. The benefit of reading them now when I'm 35 years older than I was when I read them the first time. Gap in time is going to give a different perspective on some stories. So I think this one benefited from that. The science fiction stuff about it, the idea of that super galactic intelligence being something so alien as like protostars and how would those interact with people and stuff like that. He's a sci-fi writer, Bear is, and I think he did a good job capturing that. And I agree with you. I thought the weak points of this were the guest stars. Mason, they kind of bring her in and stuff like that. It was a weird backstory that they gave her and stuff like that. The monitors thing just felt like a throwaway. Let's just throw some more like M5 Multitronic unit on there. I don't think they used the cast that great, but especially the supporting cast, but it's okay. Because again, they could have added 50 to 75 pages and put more of that in, but it wouldn't have been a breezy read like this one was. Yeah. So I'm inclined to think, so if we're ranking these 1, 2, I definitely have this at 1. And I have Doctor's Orders at 2 so far.
Well, the exciting part is I know you're going to break out your dice and tell us what's next.
That's right. I have in my hand the dice. The first dice decides if it's the first 10, second 10, third 10, fourth 10, fifth 10. The second dice decides if it's 1 through 10 on that. So let's roll them dice. Here we go. The first one. The first one is, is this a 6 or a 9? You get the 6, I got the 9. It is a 6, which means that it's books 11 to 20.
Oh, good.
This one was an 11 to 20. So let's see what we get now. Let's see. It is 18. Number 18 is My Enemy, My Ally. I believe that's by Diane Duane.
I remember liking that. I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, I remember. I think there's Romulans involved. I think.
Yeah, the ones that I remember that I really liked I remember the Klingon Gambit was pretty good. Pawns and Symbols, I believe, was a good one. I remember that when I first read it, I didn't like the entropy effect, and then I read it like 10 years later and thought it was really good, really dark. Are there any memorable ones that you had, Butch?
I remember Dreadnought, Battle Stations, the Deep Domain. I remember that one. Memory Prime. I remember that one. Yeah. So this one, by the way, My Enemy, My Ally, number 18, is written by Diane Duane. Our second Diane Duane novel already. So
Wow.
that's pretty amazing to think that we're there already. It's just very close. This is very close in time. This is probably the same year or right the next year as this one was. So next up, another Diane Duane.
I'm guessing 86. Do you know what year it is?
Oh, I'm looking it up right now. You were going to be surprised. July 1984. So
The same year?
The same year. Just like 2 months later. Yeah.
They were banging them out.
They were banging them out. That's crazy. I think they must have come out with a whole bunch of them. So, yeah. So
well, this was number 15, and now we're going to 18. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's pretty amazing. So next up for us, back to Diane Duane for My Enemy, My Ally. I do remember thinking that was one of the better ones. It'll be interesting. I don't remember anything about it other than I believe there's an enemy and an ally, and maybe they're the same.
Yeah,
person.
I remember. Black Fire was the one where Spock's a pirate, so it wasn't that one. So yeah, it should be. Hey, is it maybe? I might be thinking Crisis on Centaurus. I think I'm thinking Crisis on Centaurus, where there's like some good Kirk backstory. Yeah, I don't know what My Enemy, My Ally is about, but I do remember liking it, so this will be fun.
Well, we are going to pull that book out tomorrow and see what we find. So thanks for joining us for
Excuse me, you're going to whip it out, Butch.
Excuse me while I whip this out. So, yeah, so that does it for our second pocket trek, the Trek in Our Pocket. Join us next time where we find out what we think of the third Trek in Our Pocket with Butch and Rob and Rob and Butch and Rob. So, Rob, if you would, take us out.
Do we have a takeout?
We don't. I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I guess, as much as that was a Trek in my pocket, now it's time for the soft parade, Butch. So
Well
I'm spent.
Well done, and we'll see you next time.